Maybe with a prayer and then we can start.
Yeah, sure. So we start with the prayer there, usually?
It's the short, small prayer, kiddo.
Yeah, sure. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and God, amen. Thank you for this gathering and the Zoom meeting. I ask you, Lord, to shine your light on all your servants and all the servants involved in this meeting. Help us, Lord, during this pandemic. Give us hope. Give us a fresh start, Lord, to always turn to you during these difficult times. We ask you, Lord, to hear us as we pray. Thank you for saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Jesus Christ. Okay. Thank you very much, David, and the other servants. So I was supposed to give this 2 weeks ago, I think. So I'll try to remember what I was going to say. Again, David, we love David. He's very clear with the topic. It's basically something about a brief overview of apologetics and arguments for God's existence, and then touching upon faith and things like that. This one won't have as much monastic perspective, I think, as last time, because it's apologetics. But yeah, we'll try to do that, and hopefully you guys get something out of it, of course. Yeah, I've been told to pick up the pace. We should stress the word brief. I don't really care if David kicks me out. He kicks me out. But yeah, I try to be a bit more concise in some points. This time, yeah. I haven't gone under an hour in all my Zoom talks so far. Not even close. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share a photo of. I know it's been embarrassing, but on the topic of apologetics, anybody know this man? Anybody ever seen the picture? Not even Carlos? You're not into apologetics, obviously, Carlos. Anyway, so no one knows who this man is.
No.
Anyway, so he's a very famous he's famous in apologetics. David knows, by the way, but yeah, he's very famous in apologetics. And I actually attended a debate just before I left, before I joined. I know it's embarrassing to put me up there, but yeah, that was a good experience. My first and only time to attend a debate between a Christian apologist and an atheist, and even Bruno Tonis. He's really involved in that. He gave a couple of series in the theological college about apologetics. He's really into it. He's really good. He actually is the one that had the tickets for us. So I went. It was a good experience. And I bring that up because it's good to have an example. I really enjoyed it, but I would not say it's the bread and butter of what we need to know or should attend regularly. But it was good. It was a good experience on occasion, 100%. And the reason I say that is because it's really not so much about trying to be an apologist, yeah. It's really about being a good example in the Christian life. So as much as he did a great job, you can actually watch his debates. He's done many, but like this debate was in Sydney between an atheist professor. You can watch his debate, and he gave good arguments, but it's very unlikely for an atheist who has a closed mind to be receptive to this and change their life. It's very rare. They really say that for people to change their life, it really comes from two main sources, generally speaking. I mean, mainly, I should say. Either from a vision from God or a good example, a really good example, a really good Christian example. It's very rare, and I would say, practically impossible for someone to accept the faith based on losing an argument or being, out-debated. So yeah, it's important. It's a good stepping stone, okay, and it's a good step forward, but it will never be the final step. I think it's a nice quote what he says. More often than not, it is what you rather than what you say that will bring an unbeliever to Christ. This then is the ultimate apologetic. For the ultimate apologetic is your life. So yeah, can't believe most of you never heard of it. So just an intro. Some of the things we'll talk about. What is apologetics? Briefly. Why do we care or should care about apologetics? I guess that's why David asked. He asked this question. Good versus bad apologetics. Yeah, if there is, if we can call them that, good and bad. Is there a good way to do it? Is there a bad way to do it? The relationship between apologetics and evangelism, which we briefly just touched upon. We'll get into it a bit more, hopefully. Reasons for God's existence. Yeah, when David asked me to talk about that, was like, that's just, it's absurd to try and make that concise or make it brief. Just touch upon it. Inexhaustive means not a complete list. I don't know if someone was to give a complete list. I don't know how many reasons there would be. Probably you could categorize it in at least 30, but if you expanded that, it could be like up to 100 plus. Yeah, we won't touch much upon that. David mentioned that, but yeah, not much about reasons against God's existence. Okay, so what is apologetics? Your turn. This time I know the people. Thomas.
Yeah. Well, give me a second.
Yeah, Google. Atabat. That's right.
Exactly.
Who else is he?
On my lap.
George Habibi, without your camera. Don't think I met you before, but yeah, what's apologetics? Otherwise, David and Carlos is going to target you when he's face to face, because you're not going to see me.
Don't worry, I got you, George.
Come on, who else is here? Let's go down. Amira, Ahmed. I love the interaction. I love it. Amira. يا حبيبتي, nice to meet you. Chris, you got your camera on. Christopher. This is the most shy group ever.
Is it relating to religious discipline of defending religious doctrines?
Yeah, thank God you got yeah, defense is the key word. That's what the word means. Thanks a lot, Christopher. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot to William, Abefak, and Samir, and yeah. So that's the key word. You said it, Chris. It really is about it's defending the faith. It's not restricted to Christianity. It's any type of defense. So it's not when they say, sometimes you really hear the word, what is apologetics? You're thinking it's apology. It's got nothing to do with apologizing or saying sorry or admitting at fault. It's all about defending the faith. And yeah, so you can have a Muslim apologist. He's defending the Muslim faith or defending Islam. Yeah, so like we just said, apologetics is not about being sorry. The word apologetics is from the classical term apologia, itself derived, yeah, so forth. Meaning speech or word, yeah, or court. And of course, it related to defense. Like in court, you defend yourself. So like Chris said, Christian apologetics is essentially the defense of the Christian faith. That's the key word. Apologetics uses reason, such as logic and evidence, rather than faith. So in the church, I mean, substantially what we're doing in church is, predicated, like based on faith. There's not so much reason. Like when we talk about the Bible, we don't say we believe the Bible. We say we don't use the Bible to as a source of logic and evidence. We believe the Bible, so therefore we use it as in everything that we do. But apologetics will take a step back from that and go back to, okay, do we have good arguments to say that the Bible is true? Do we have good arguments to say that the history is true, that Christ existed and came and rose? We in the church, it's all assumed believers that Christ rose, of course. But apologetics will take a step back and try to argue this and defend this. It's ironic because this itself is using apologetics uses reason, and the atheists, which is like the opposite of Christian apologetics, they try to counter our belief, our Christian belief. They will say that you don't have reason, you don't have good reasons to believe. You just believe on faith. So what apologetics does, and we're obviously talking mainly about a Christian apologist, Christian apologetics, we're going to use reason. We're going to play their own game, yeah. So we're not going to use faith or so much as miracles. We're going to use reason. Beat them at their own game. Of course, that's what New Age atheism is. And it is New Age. I just want to stress that as well. It's called New Age for a reason because it's new. And new is it's in recent centuries that atheism has really come to life, or taken like a following. In the Bible, times of the Bible, everyone believed. In the book of Jonah, when in Jonah they come to when they're going through the boat and there's the tempest with like strong waves and wind. They say, call on your God. They don't say, do you believe in God? Let's if you do, call on him. It's assumed knowledge at that time that everyone believed in God. Maybe not the right God, but everyone had a belief. And even, of course, you can go back all in history. The Egyptians, they all believed in gods, Isis and Ra and all these other gods. It's all assumed that people believed in something higher. And even in the Alcoholics Anonymous, even people, I think it's the first step, second step, even people that don't have a belief in God, they basically make them call to something higher. The line is, okay, call to something higher for strength. So it's assumed that the God exists. It's just assumed. And that's interesting. Yeah, and the Bible, we won't go to too much verses in the Bible. For the weapons.
question.
Sorry?
I've just got a question. Where you say for the third point, the New Age atheism, would that go under logic and evidence or just faith? Because at the end of the day, they don't believe in anything.
100%.
They don't believe in logic and they don't believe in faith.
100% atheists use faith. It takes greater faith to believe in atheism than Christianity. So, but the thing is, they will say, that's a good question. They will say that they only use reason, whereas we just use faith. But it's the opposite. We use reason in everything, and of course, and faith itself is enabled by grace, is enabled by God's grace. So it's very false to believe that atheism does not use faith, because it's a belief system, right? Like I remember once when I was talking about the William Lane Craig, one of the it's a bit too far back to go, but anyway, and one of the in one of the series that he was the atheist professor said, I don't have beliefs, and he's like, of course you do. You believe what you just said. So that's faith, faith and belief are attached.
But is that really considered as a religion, even though there is a belief in no belief? This is completely throwing me off, but
yeah, but you got to go back to religion. You got to go back to how we define religion. But faith, atheism is a faith system, 100%. So, and in that sense, it's religion. We can get technical with the terms, but it's definitely a belief system. Just think about it. Like I'm just saying, like there's no you can't use concrete reason to believe God doesn't exist. You can't prove a negative. But again, we don't go too deep. Does this sort of answers you? No?
Yeah, no, it does. Sure, thank you.
And again, like we said, new. It's only in recent centuries, which is new in that time, and it's really picked up in the last 100 years. Yeah, back to the verse: "The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments." So yeah, like apologetics uses arguments, reason and arguments. and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, i.e., New Age atheism, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. So apologetics definitely has quite a bit of good done in the right way. So why apologetics? Come on. One more, one more time to be interactive. Sarah, why should we do apologetics? Or should we do apologetics? I mean, should we just discard it? Should we just get it? There's no need to do this. Why does your servant want to go into apologetics? Is it worth it? Why do you think? Can you give me an example? Sarah, or the one next to you, the Verena, I think it is.
Yeah, it is. I think for me personally, maybe I feel like we benefit from this course. So then if we are faced, someone asking us, why do you believe what you believe? We are able to say with evidence and, understand why we believe what we believe with like evidence.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. You want to be convicted, don't you? Like even you can use Paulus when he does medicine. He's convicted in some of the things he's practicing. If he didn't, he wouldn't really prescribe medicine. So we have to have a conviction. It's important. And it's important. Our faith can't be shaky. Can't be shaky. It can't be like in the book of James when it says, "He who doubts is like a wave of the wind, just like a toss, like a pack of cards, fall down crumbling." Yeah, we have absolutely nothing to hide. Nothing. There's no question that will scare us in the sense that it's going to throw away our faith. So we've got nothing to hide. So we shouldn't shy from any question necessarily, or be ashamed or embarrassed. Yeah, that's important, and nothing to fear, including being persecuted for our faith. For nothing is secret that will be revealed, nor anything hidden that will not be known and come to light. So nothing that we believe is necessary. Is what do we call it? Like it's not hidden. Like when you say somebody believes in atheism or evolution, right? They really do hide a lot of things in the propaganda. Okay, but we've got nothing to hide. The light always shines on the darkness. Yeah, again, because the Bible says so. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Thus we believe it's true and tell others. And all the answers are out. Yeah, so just some reasons that I thought of to convince skeptics of the rationality and truth behind Christianity. But again, this is a step. It's a starting step. It's not the end step. It will never be the final knock, in my opinion. But we hope it's a platform to go forward, to dispel the doubts that we ourselves might have. Yeah, especially when you're younger and older, you have to go through some periods of doubts or issues. Okay, and I want to stress again that doubt and faith are not the opposite. It's not an inverse relationship. Inverse meaning like if you have more faith, that means you have less doubt. It's not necessarily true at all. But it's good, yeah. I want to ask a question. Ask any question we want. We always try to answer. The church always tries to give an answer. And even if we don't necessarily have all the answers, because what we believe is mysteries, yeah. The 7 sacraments, the other word for sacraments is mysteries, and God Himself is a mystery. So that's important to remember, that we may not necessarily have all the answers, but we go in the right direction to strive to get the answers, and we're enabled by God's grace to have faith. And faith is a gift from God as well. I said this already. I don't think that apologetics is really or should be the main tool to evangelize or convert people, but a tool nevertheless. I don't know if anyone else agrees, if Carlos or David agree with that, but I hope so. At the very least, apologetics shows that Christianity is anything but stupid. A sound, rational basis. Yeah, especially when you attend a lot of debates, they think that we're stupid. What we believe is stupid, but it's quite the opposite. What the other side presents is pretty stupid. When I read a famous book called The Case for Christ, the person at the end, who was an atheist and became a Christian, he said, it would take greater faith for me to keep my atheism. meaning it's more stupid to believe in atheism. And like we said, hopefully apologetics increases our faith, especially when we're going through doubts. Especially when we're going through doubts. It can go the opposite. It can do the opposite if we do it in the wrong way. Apologetics, I think, is not the bread and butter, but more like vitamins and minerals. So what's the bread and butter then? What's the bread and butter? Bread and butter is, things like sacraments, the life-giving body of Christ. This is the bread and butter. This is essential. This is more like things, apologetics, more like things we should do as supplementary, yeah? You don't take vitamins and minerals unless you don't have a sufficient amount in your main diet. They're called supplements. Vitamins and minerals as supplements, something, an addition, if you're not getting the core. Yeah, like prayer, sacraments, Bible study, fellowship, service in the Lord, etc. Whatever else. Yeah, as I said, I don't think apologetics necessarily equals conversion. Not necessarily. Shouldn't equate like for like. It's very rare. It's very rare that people change their life from losing an argument, especially when it's done in the wrong way. You cannot argue a person into the Christian faith using rational arguments. You can only love them into the faith. This is a very key word. Even when I was teaching at a school, one of the teachers, he was a casual teacher. He was a Muslim, and we had a few arguments. He brought it up, had a few arguments. We had a few apologetic debates. But I knew that it would go nowhere unless I showed him love. And I didn't convert the guy. If that's your measure of evangelism, I didn't convert the guy. But I tried to be a good example, and I argued when necessary. But that's the limit. If someone's closed-minded, he'll always turn it around. The Bible says even if someone rises from the dead, they won't believe if they have a closed mind, essentially. Yeah. So if you use all the Christian arguments, if we'll go through some of them. If you go through the 30+ Christian arguments for God's existence, that's not necessarily going to convert someone if they don't have an open mind. Someone has to be open to the evidence, and it's definitely aided or assisted by a loving example. And a vision wouldn't hurt either from God. Evangelism at its core is substantially different to apologetics. Again, this is what I believe. People are loved into Christianity, not argued into it. Show them God in yourself by being the faithful image of God, not dazzled, or memorize them in stunning, elegant logic. You can watch the debates, especially when you see a good Christian apologist, that they slaughter. You can watch it as a neutral. They slaughter the atheist or their opponent. But that's not enough in itself. Got to be loving. Yeah, however, an apologist can be an evangelist and vice versa. The ideal is to combine the two, like we said. Be a loving Christian apologist. At best, apologetics, that word is a bit tricky sometimes, may help a Christian or an evangelist to overcome initial obstacles that keep a person away from Christ and his church. But in itself, it will not develop the necessary relationship with Christ. That requires Yalla Abba Fayak for William Sadaks. What would help a person grow into Christ and his church? If it's not apologetics, what would that require?
Love.
Hey, okay, thank God. Love. Gotta make it a bit more interactive. Yeah, and again, never win the argument, but lose the person. That does more harm than good. So that's not the point. And we said faith is a gift. And it's enabled by God's grace in itself. Belief is enabled by God's grace in itself. Yes, it's assisted by apologetics, but it also depends on God's grace. A person changing their life is enabled by God's grace. Yeah, and that's really important to remember. Yeah, Saint Longinus. It's ironic because when I was going to give this talk 2 weeks ago, it was the feast. I was praying the mass. Anyone know who Saint Longinus is? Anyway, I know you don't want to. Some people don't want to answer, but Saint Longinus, right? He was the soldier at the feet of Christ who cast the spear into him. Yeah, after he passed away, after Christ passed away, or his spirit rose to heaven, he's the one that cast the spear into his right hand side, and it's pretty ironic because when I was reading on the day, I wish I brought it up because I forgot about it. On the reading on the day, it basically says, maybe I'll get it towards the end, but Saint Longinus, right? I was reading the Cynic Psalm, I was praying the Mass that day, and I'm like, he himself, he saw. He saw the power of Christ through like the water and the blood, and essentially saw Christ rise from the dead. But that itself was not enough for him to be converted. If we go to the story, or maybe towards the end, he even asked a disciple for like confirmation or for belief. I'm reading the story on that day. I'm like, wow, even that at the feet of Christ, stabbing Christ and seeing the blood and water, which is in itself a miracle. And here, seeing Christ rise from the dead, essentially because, he was around in that time and he appeared to more than 500 people. And as the story goes in 6 Psalm, that itself was not enough. So yeah, it's enabled by God's grace and to have an open mind. That's a good example. This is a bad example. David Hanna. You heard about him, huh? What's David?
Yeah, Rabbi Zacharias.
Yeah, you heard what happened, huh?
Moving on.
I guess you did. Yeah, but this is so again, David doesn't want to share it, but he was a very famous Christian apologist. He had a big international ministries, and he did a lot of great work for Christ. But unfortunately, I even read David. I even read the report, the official investigation on him. It was pretty powerful. But he basically, I mean, you can read it for yourself if you want. But he committed a lot of sins, and he wasn't who he said he was. He wasn't who he said he was. And he was a bad example in the end, unfortunately. And he was so involved in apologetics. In my opinion, I think he got caught up in apologetics so much that he missed the bread and butter. Like we said, okay, if you miss the real food and nourishment, okay, you're gonna die. Apologetics is not enough in itself. And I think he was a classic example of someone who became so involved in apologetics and missed the point and missed the bread and butter. Again, yeah, you can read it for yourself if you want. I don't want to get into what he did. Neither does David. I was even thinking about that the other day in the monastery. There was during the beginning of the lockdown, there was a few people that came, and they were coming to stay for a long time. Some I'm staying for 2 weeks. There's nothing to do in Sydney. I'm not going back. Or another person said, I hate the government. This is anarchy. What's the word? Martial law. It's martial law. I'm not going back. I'm going to stay here. But when he said that, I noticed there's a big problem with this. He's coming to escape from the government or avoid the government. He's not coming for spiritual benefit. And what do you think happened to them? They didn't last. They didn't stay a week because they're not filling themselves with the bread and butter. They're not coming for the spiritual side. It doesn't work. And again, unfortunately, I think he was a classic example. Very sad. Very sad. I even read his books and everything. I bought his DVDs. Okay. An incomplete list. Sometimes it gets cut off. Yeah, an incomplete list of the arguments for God, the existence of God. Very briefly. But anyway, give me a couple. I won't be asking you 2 more questions. Just give me a few reasons for God's existence. There are so many. Give me 3 or 4. I'll be more than happy. Please. We target George Lotfi. George Lotfi, Habibi, how are you? Is he a shy person, David? Very shy. William Sadek. They got some funny names here. Abai Fayek. Come on, anyone.
Incomplete list. Is this of like the mysteries? The mysteries are an incomplete argument.
No. The question is, what are some arguments for the existence of God?
Oh, existence of God. Sorry, I didn't read that.
So have a go now. Thomas,
Yeah,
was that you
I'm
speaking?
trying to think of what's incomplete. Is this from a Christian?
No. Incomplete means I'm not giving a complete list. Like I'm gonna list a few, but the list, the full list, is so long we don't know how long it is. That's what I mean by incomplete. Make sense?
Yeah.
That's why it's in brackets.
Yeah, all right, that makes sense.
No, but that doesn't mean you don't answer the question.
Wait, I'm thinking because I've got a full train of thought ready to say something, but
Come on now,
completely got changed.
They're making make fun of you. You don't have one reason for God's existence, even though you're a Christian.
Allah. Okay, let me think. Give me a second. Just give me a second, all
It
right?
doesn't take much thinking.
No, number one. Stop. You can stop
reason.
now.
You'll make a mad debater. You'll make a really good debater.
What did you say?
Nothing.
I'd
I
say
won't make a good
history.
debater. I don't debate
I can tell.
at all. Chris, do you want to butt in?
Yeah, I'd say history.
Yeah, that's a bit broad. Can you be a bit more specific?
The miracles.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, miracles, 100%. Yeah. Thank you. Well, that's one. Two more. Sarah. I've been told by David to
Witnesses.
target people, by the way, so don't blame me on me being annoying. I'm following orders from the boss.
What about witnesses?
Of Verena. Just one reason for God's existence. You believe in God, I assume. So can you give me one reason why? Please.
I guess, well, Chris said witnesses, but also I guess the Bible is our proof. The Bible is, it says all of our stories and everything that happened, and Jesus is a real person.
Yeah, but someone could say you can't prove the Bible from the Bible. Maybe you can
The Bible,
try to elaborate a bit about that, please.
I guess it's proof, like it is written proof that it historically happened.
Yeah,
Chris said that there was witnesses of God.
Yeah, good evidence historic of the Bible, 100%. Carlos, give me one more example, please. Dr. Carlos, yeah. There, please. Whatever comes to your mind. Whatever comes to your mind, yeah.
Yeah. I guess the one thing is that we all have some idea of what's right and wrong. So that law has to come from somewhere. Someone there has to be someone good who put this idea in everyone, whether you're Christian or not, of what's right and wrong.
100%. You heard about that. That's called the absolute morality. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The absolute morality, yeah. And that's a very common argument between a Christian and atheist in debating, is where do moral absolutes come from? Because there's no more, I'm giving you the answer here, there's no moral absolutes in atheism. Atheism does not give any source of morality. And so that's a common thing. It's a very good point. Very good point. I'll take the three before we fall into a pit.
Can we also say that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Please. Like science and physics prove that there's something greater than all of a sudden Big Bang and everything came together. If that made any sense.
Yeah, that's great. 100%. That was going to be the first point. Like the Big Bang, applying that is talking about. Again, we're keeping this brief. There's a beginning, and all science suggests there's a beginning of the world. So if there's a beginning, the real source is God. 100%. That's one of the points. So arguments from the universe. There's many things. I used to be really into this. I'm not so much now in apologetics, but I used to be really into it. Abuna Antonius is really into it. He's good. Argument from the universe, like we said, we'll run through this quickly. Everything has a cause. There must be an uncaused first cause to start off this chain, and so forth. Yeah, the first cause, like we're saying, is God. So, and the universe had a beginning. Argument from design, quickly again. We see order all around us, yeah? When you see a painting, you say there was a painter. When you see a building, you say there was a builder. You know, when you see a plane that's being, has a great engineering, you say there was an engineer. So it's pretty farcical meaning like funny or like a big joke, to then say that, you know, the world and order did not have a beginning. Did not have the order produced itself. Like a plane, a 747 plane cannot produce, become, you know, naturally. Has to have order, has to have intelligence. So it doesn't take a genius to work that out. It takes someone with not even a quarter of a brain. So God must be the intelligent designer. That's why there's a big thing called intelligent design, if anyone's ever heard of that. Again, we're just touching the surface. Argument from existence. Yeah, there are degrees of greatness. Yeah, that's an interesting argument. You probably might not have heard that one before. Argument from degree. There are degrees and everything, which nothing greater, something is God. Yep. A few more. Again, I don't know how many there is, but at least 30. Sorry. Argument from universal. I'll move this thing out. Oh, there you go. Oh, good. Argument from universal belief. In almost every age of history, all over the world, people have. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, atheism is such a new thing. That's why it's called new atheism. Everyone believed in God before. It's a basic intuitive, like something internal. Yeah, truth about our world. Yeah. So what? A couple of you were trying to allude to argument from Scripture. Yeah, the Bible tells us clearly that God exists. We should believe the Bible. But yeah, like, well, how would they go with an atheist? Yeah, you can't really convince an atheist that the Bible itself is true. Yeah, you can't prove the Bible from the Bible necessarily. That's circular. It's a circular argument. It's just going around in a circle. I don't think that would go very well. So it's good to go outside. That's why you can really use non-biblical sources to prove the Bible, to prove that God exists. And they even, like in one of the books that I was reading, left it here because it was 2 weeks ago. One of the chapters is called. I'll get it quickly for you. It's basically like non-biblical sources. Yeah. What's it called? The corroborating evidence. Yeah. So evidence outside the Bible that corroborates the Bible, supports the Bible. So texts that are not Christian, not biblical. Yeah, like Josephus, who was a Jew, and he wrote history at that time. So that's a good, and he mentions Christ in there. So that's a good example of corroboration. Yeah, there are a few other things in there. Transcendental argument for the existence of God, the reality of transcendental things like logic, morality, and thought. Thoughts can be explained by a transcendental creator of God. Yeah, so Krolos mentioned that point, morality. Yeah, it's transcendent, meaning it's beyond what our limited body. It's something above us, transcending something above us. Yeah, argument from prophecy. If anyone does anything about this, you find the statistics of the prophecies to come true, such as, like Christ being born in a manger, and there's so many prophecies. Yeah, I think if you take 8 of them, there's so many, there's hundreds, right? But if you take like 8 of them, the chances of all 8 being fulfilled is like one in billions, astronomical numbers, and that's not even a complete list. Argument from Jesus Christ, the life, teaching, character of Jesus Christ attests to the reality of God he taught about. Yeah, because remember, Christ said, I am the Son of God. He said it explicitly, very clearly, word for word. I am the Son of God. So it's very silly when you hear someone else say, "Oh, Christ never claimed to." Christ never claimed to be God, or we can believe that Christ was a moral teacher. If anyone has read the book Me Christianity by C.S. Lewis, he says, "Look, if you're not going to believe in God, fair enough, but don't come and say that Christ never said he was the Son of God. Don't come and say he was a good moral teacher. He never gave that as an option." Okay? Either he was a madman proclaiming the things he did and doing the things he did, or he was the Son of God. Yeah, anyone? I like this point. It has flaws. Anyone ever heard this? Yeah. This is better. I'll read it and then I'll try to briefly explain it. It is safer to believe in God and not to go to hell than to disbelieve and risk hell. Meaning, like another way to say it, look, if you're on the fence, this Pascal, yeah, he said, look, if you're on the fence, you might as well believe in God. Like if you're not sure, wouldn't it be better to believe in something higher and not necessarily not go to hell, but at least it seems logical and plausible. If you're not sure, believe in God because you've got absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. So that really amazes me. Yes, it's being criticized. I'm not going to get into the criticism, but at its heart, it's a fair point. If you're on the fence, believe in God. And if you're in doubt, God will of course pray that God will enable you to give you the grace. Faith is enabled by grace. Argument from beauty. The world is full of beauty and human beings are capable of appreciating it. These things cannot be explained naturally, but only by resorting to a God who values beauty. Anyone think of an example? I'm thinking of a really clear example. There's many, but something really beautiful that when you look at it, there is no way anyone could say it's not beautiful and therefore also ask where is the source. I'm thinking of a rainbow. Tell me one person who says a rainbow is ugly. I've never heard of it. Yeah. So I just argue. Just simple.
I do.
Go ahead.
Those are for gays.
Sorry. Anyway, so argument from beauty. Yeah. So something like that is a powerful argument. If you see a rainbow, you have to explain where it came from. Again, we're trying to move a bit quickly. A couple more. Consciousness. We are conscious. We know that we exist. This cannot be explained in a purely physical universe. Therefore, something that is not physical must exist. Therefore, so forth. Yeah, like how do you explain consciousness? Yeah, we have a conscious. We have the free will side. So we're able to perceive our consciousness. I even watched the video. It's pretty absurd. It's about like they got a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, and a Buddhist, I think. And they have like questions, like a series of questions, and they walk towards the chair if they believe or not. And one of the questions was, does free will exist? Okay, and like only the Christian walked to the chair, meaning he believed the free will exists. I'm thinking these 4 other people, they're using their own free will to not walk. How can they not see it? I didn't get it. So that's a bit related to consciousness. Argument by analogy with other minds. Yeah, we're not just robots, yeah? We're not just mechanical. And God didn't create robots, he created us with a loving, we said love you so much that he gives us free will. To choose to reject or believe in him. And very briefly, I'll say this: if God were to create us as robots, that not only would be silly or injustice. It's out of his love that he does this, and it would be unjustifiable. It would be like a moral absurd. It would be abhorrent. Yeah, we just mentioned free will. You can read that in your own time. Argument from desire. We mentioned this as well. Touched upon this. Yeah, and you see all the atheists are searching for and all of us are searching for something satisfying. The best example is, we look at King Solomon. King Solomon, yeah. How about we touch upon him briefly, yeah, very briefly. King Solomon and Ecclesiastes. He says the whole book. He's talking about how how much he pursued pleasure and so forth, and he realized it was vanity. Yeah, but in chapter 2, he really gets into it. He really defines a few sections. I'll briefly talk about it. Yeah, Ecclesiastes chapter 2. I think I'll mention it later on the talks. Maybe we'll just get to it because I prepared this 2 weeks ago. I forgot. Argument from love. Yeah, how do you explain love? That's a question. It's a fair question. Atheists love. Yeah, so non-believers love. So how do you explain that? How do you explain free will? Fair questions. Couple more. We mentioned miracles. Yeah, and you just look at it. There's a miracle that happens all the time, but even like there's like a fixed miracle. It always amazes me because once a year in the resurrection in Israel, and all the problems that they have, all the political problems that they have. Anyone's ever been there? Lots of political problems there, and it's even worse now. It's very sad. But even with all these problems, they have the light. The light comes from a source, from from nothing. Okay, and you got like 15 seconds where it can't burn your hand. So this needs an explanation. It's a clear miracle, and of course you could talk about the miracle resurrection and so forth. Argument from morality, yeah, we touched upon that. Yeah, we just stress it one more time because Carlos brought it up. In a purely physical universe, there should be no such thing as an objective good and evil, and yet there is such a thing. I.e., let's pick one example. Yeah, no one thinks that torturing babies for no reason is a good thing. You won't find anyone that will try to justify that. Yeah, or even rape. Yeah, it's morally abhorrent, morally wrong to rape. To always rape people. Therefore, naturalism is wrong and morally can only explain the existence of a moral God. Yeah. So people of faith. So it's a good example. Yeah, like people that live in monasteries. And I heard this in a debate. He said, what about the people that live in monasteries and nuns and convents? Yeah, what about them? They really believe what they're doing, and they believe the presence of God. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. You really think all of these people are deluded and they're just falsely wasting their life? So they believe it's real, and that requires explanation. It's a good argument. It's experience, yeah, argument from experience. You can't test that. You can't necessarily test that. It's not like you can put that in a test tube and this is proof that God exists. But it's experience, and you see how the experience develop, and obviously many examples of monks and nuns dedicating the whole life. I actually used to think about that when I was younger. When I was younger, visiting the monastery, I'm like, there's no way. This is actually one of the things that brought me to monasticism. There's no way someone would do this for any other reason other than God, right? Just think about it logically. Why would someone go to the monastery for the rest of his life, most likely, to live the rest of his life? He wouldn't do it for food. That would be pretty silly. That won't last long. He wouldn't do it for money. There's no money. He wouldn't do it for women. There's no woman. He really wouldn't. He shouldn't do it for other reasons as well. So it'd be hard. I was thinking very hard for someone to do that for the wrong reasons for the whole life. So really, they believe it's true, and also they're happy. When I was younger, I'm like, wow, these people are really happy. They're enjoying their life, and yeah, like the sacrifice is nothing. Like sometimes people say, oh, you're missing out on so much. Now we got a monastic twist, huh? When you're missing out on so much, you're sacrificing your whole life. You miss out on this, and you miss out on pleasure or trivial things, really. Trivial things. And I go, man, this is temporary. This is temporary. And like I said a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about prayer, really, really, like some of the fathers, like Saint Gregory of Nyssa, like I was saying, they believe in mysticism and the world beyond ours. The world beyond ours. And the world that we live in, the world that we behave in, it really is it's rubbish, yeah. And Saint Paul uses the word as rubbish, dang, yeah, in Greek, and it's meaningless. It's meaningless. Okay, the real world is the spiritual world. I like some of the things that he said. Yeah, that's just the side note, Kevin. argument from intelligent Christians. Yeah, there are many intelligent Christians. The guy we mentioned earlier, William Lane Craig, is very smart. He's got a PhD. I remember another very famous, I mean, not that famous to you guys, but he was a famous Christian professor, right? He had 3 PhDs, 3. I've never met anyone and seen anyone that had 3 PhDs. He passed away like quite a few years ago now. Professor Wilder Smith, and he was so smart. Like he was so smart, and he did this whole series on science, and they talked about Noah's Ark. Talked about I read some of his books. Like I even bought all of his books, to be honest, and I bought it even for the library. I thought about Anthony buy it for the library, and you read his books and like, wow, this guy's way up there. He talks about the argument from biochemistry, and it's way beyond the common knowledge. And he was so smart. He used that as arguments for Christianity, for belief in God. Yeah, a lot of intelligent people are religious. Many. They're very smart people. Additional reasons. A couple more. Try to pick up the pace. Yeah, eyewitness testimony of the Bible. Yeah, such as the Gospels. Again, it's very hard to make this concise. To expand this a bit too much. But yeah, we have eyewitness testimony in the Gospels, and they're reliably preserved. A very early time frame. Yeah, they're all within the same generation. And any other book doesn't compare to the Bible. Like the book that has the most manuscripts, second most manuscripts to the Bible, is Homer's Iliad, and it's like 800 manuscripts. The Bible has 20,000 plus, that book is written like 800 years. There's a big gap, centuries of time frame written from the event. But the Bible is written so early. It's written in like seconds if you compare it to other books. Yeah, a very early time frame, within a few years, which is nothing. Okay, all in the same generation. And even when you look at the Bible, it talks about how Christ appeared to 500 people, 500 disciples. Yeah, and that's important because if that was false, people that in that generation could have disproved it, could have said it's false. Okay, and said no, that's not true. Again, you can spend a whole talk on these things. I don't know if David wants me to do that. Corroborated evidence outside the Bible, we mentioned that, including science. Archaeological evidence of the Bible. There's so many examples there. So many. Linguistic acts of the Bible. Yeah, including alleged contradictions. This is interesting. I would just briefly talk about this. Contradictions in the Bible, alleged contradictions. I read part of a book, which basically was, I can even get you the title if you want. It's basically it was like a 600-page book about alleged contradictions in the Bible, and it goes through so many examples about that seem to be a contradiction. And the author, he said, look, pretty much every time everyone thinks the Bible is contradictory, yeah, it's false. Yeah, it has something written that's a contradiction. People break one of 16 laws, or one of 16 laws, such as taking out of context, a misspelling of a translation, not reading the whole sentence, not understanding the language of the time. There are so many aspects. Yeah, I remember reading it. It was good. It was good because atheists will love to use alleged contradictions. They'll love to use contradictions to try to disprove and to shake your faith. But I would encourage anyone, if anyone ever wants to go through that, they can. The Bible really is not contradictory at all. Yeah, and the linguistic acts of the Bible is very important too. And even when the copies, again, I'm trying to make this brief. Let's say the copy is preserved. There were 95% reliable preservation, yeah, from copy to copy, from manuscript to manuscript. And you say 5%, that's a lot. But usually that 5% is only very technical words, like spelling of places and names. Meaning it was copied, 100%. Even when they used to take the scrolls, right? How the people used to do it, they used to do it by letter. And if if one letter didn't match up, they would get rid of the whole scroll. This is how they would copy the Bible. Again, we don't want to talk about it too much. Mystery of the incarnation, yeah, I think that's an important point. It's a mystery. So how do you explain the incarnation? It was born of a virgin. Evidence for the resurrection, yeah. Again, very briefly. I like to say the 3 E's, yeah. Early or empty tomb, yeah. No one disputes that the tomb wasn't empty. No one. Not a single good historian disputes that. And you can read it in the text. The Jewish people, they never disputed that it was empty. They just tried to say, okay, someone stole his body, but the tomb is still empty. And if it wasn't, they could just go to the tomb. They knew where it was. Eyewitness testimony, like we said, 500 witnesses and so forth. Very early, like we said, within a few 5 years. Nothing matches at all. If anyone ever wants to study it, you'll see that nothing even compares close to it. Not even a drop compared to the Bible. Yeah, it's also by women. It's pretty interesting because, no disrespect to the women, but at the time of the resurrection, the testimony of women had very limited value. It was like half the testimony of a man. So a woman couldn't testify in a court. You have to have it. So if you're gonna do the Bible, if you're gonna like make up a story, you would never put a woman as the first person that Christ appeared to after he resurrected. Yeah, Mary Magdalene. It would never do that because it wouldn't make sense. No one would believe it, and it would have no value at the time. But I think God did it very clearly to just disprove, the doubts. Yeah, and if you would do it, you would put a man next to him. You'd put a Mary Magdalene and a man. Well, there's no man with her. So it wasn't made up. They put it there because it was true. And they had no choice. The gospel writers had no choice. Yeah, and post-resurrection, so forth. As I said, we don't want to, what do I want to say here? And including modern age. Yeah, that happens still today. And in general, it's not common. It's not very common. Most people do not experience a vision of Christ, but some do, and that requires an explanation. And it's good out of God's love that He does that sometimes. Dictionary is continued. David, I'm probably over the time limit already. As usual, I'll wrap it up.
If you can just maybe start to wrap up and maybe we'll continue this another time, just because we don't want to drag on too much.
You can read this in your own time. I'll be given instruction by the boss.
No, you're the boss.
Yeah. Okay. You can maybe another time we can talk about this. All right. I guess we don't have time to talk about the Ecclesiastes, but I was just wanted to, as I said, the best thing we can do as Christians is to try and be a loving example. Apologetics is good, but to be a loving example is much more important. And I was gonna try to give you an example of me being a loving example, but I didn't really have anything special. I couldn't think of anything too great. Maybe just my life, but that's not that not that great, not that engaging of a story. So I said, okay, I'll give you a story that I thought was nice. Only goes for a few minutes, of a good example of love and something that we can aspire to. And I think it's a nice thing. He's a good storyteller too, but it's not actually about him. So if we can just play that, I already shared the sound, so it should work. It should.
One time I was praying a liturgy with the Bunyaub, Father Jacob. And it was a weekday, and after the liturgy, I had to give communion to somebody in hospital. So I said to Father Jacob, Abuna, after the Mass, I'm going to visit somebody in hospital to give them communion. Do you want to come and go together? He said, all right, but I've got someone meeting me back at church by 11. So do you reckon we're going to get there, give communion, and be back by 11? I said, yeah, 100%. I'll be quick, or I'll be efficient, and I'll get you back by 11, Abuna. He goes, all right. So we went. We went together to give communion at St. George Hospital. And as we're walking quickly, want to make sure we're back in time, I see a lady from church, an old lady from church. And as I walk past, "Hi, Tant," and off I went. I look to my right, Abuna's not there. I look back, he stopped with the old lady. Like, oh, okay. So I went back to Abuna, and I'm listening to their discussion. And he said to her, "What are you doing here?" She said, "Oh, Abuna, I just had an appointment. I'm going home now." "How are you getting home?" "I'll just catch a taxi." No. Don't catch a taxi. Wait here. Me and Abuna Mark are going to go and give communion. We'll come back, we'll meet you here, and we'll take you home. And I'm like, oh man, this is really going to slow us down. But all right, went, gave communion, came back, the lady's there, and I said, "Abuna, I'll go get the car." He goes, "Wait." And he asked the lady, "Have you had breakfast yet?" She's like, "No, I haven't had anything yet." He said, "Have you had a coffee yet?" "No, I haven't had a coffee." "Abuna Mark, let's get her breakfast and a coffee. Let's go to the cafe." I'm like, "Are you serious?" So I take this old lady, we all go, we buy her a sandwich and a coffee, and she sips on it slowly, and then she finished. I said, "Abuna, I'm going to go get the car. I'll meet you at the front. Just bring her to the front and I'll pick you up from the front." And he was like, "All right." So I went and got the car, came down, they were there, picked them up, sped to her place, dropped her off. I'm like, "Bye, Tant," like, just go. And Abuna steps out of the car, holds her hand, and walks her to her door. At that point, I took out my phone and took a photo. Because this is Christianity. This is love. This is washing the feet.
Yeah, I thought that was a good example of things that we try to aspire to, which is essentially the most important thing in apologetics. It's also good, if someone may not necessarily have the desire to get into apologetics, which is fair enough. And if someone has the simple faith, I should have said this at the beginning. Someone has simple faith, go for it. That's great. You don't have to have a complicated faith or you find out necessarily everything. If someone has a simple faith, believes in God's existence, has personal experience, go for it. Whatever works for you, go for it. It's good to have that aspect. But if someone goes through the skeptical mind and goes through lots of periods of doubts and questions a lot of things, has like a lawyer background or any kind of the investigative background, it would be beneficial to do some research in apologetics, I think. That's really about it. Before David, cuts me off. But thanks again. Any questions? Any questions at all? Is David gone? That's it. I'm finished. Unless you want to keep going, I can keep going.
Thank you so much, Abuna.
My pleasure.
For the talk. I think we'll continue probably another week. Maybe we'll go more into detail in those cosmological, teleological, all those arguments for Christianity. Maybe we can get more into it. Another great blessing to have you on Zoom.
Thanks, very kind. Thank you.
If anyone's got any questions, maybe not now, maybe they can just write it down, put it in the chat. So any questions about the existence of God or anything related to this topic, I think it would be nice to share. And it's not just to convince others, but it's to convince ourselves too, and to understand and to bring us closer to God and understand and to eliminate our doubts. And I think it's quite normal to have a lot of doubts in different stages of life. And so having questions and seeking the answers is very important, not just having the questions and ignoring them and just living day to day-to-day life. I think seeking answers will bring us closer towards God. Regarding announcements, Kiro, Mon, take it over.
Thanks, Abuna.
My pleasure. Thank you, Carlos. Kira.
Thanks, Abuna.
I think it'll be nice, guys. Maybe later, as in, we can even go through the points one-on-one, because I know it looks like David rushed Abuna. I apologize, Abuna. David's yani.
I was trying to get myself kicked out. I was trying to get myself kicked out.
Yeah, I could tell you were racing through, but even like apologetics is one thing, but even the topic that we're focusing on in terms of God's existence, that particular part, as in like, it's very important for us. So I think it will be very beneficial for us to come together as a group and go through. I'm not sure if Abuna, you're going to share your slides with David. I think it will be of great benefit for us, so we can actually go through it in our own time, one point by one point, and really understand, because it's a really important topic. In terms of announcements, guys, we had our first Bible study catch-up last Tuesday. I think it went very successful. Again, this is designed as a catch-up. You had your Bible study. Unfortunately, we fell behind, but then you guys had a great idea of spending once a week, half an hour, just 30 minutes of catching up on our Bible study. We had a successful session last week, and we'll have another session this coming Tuesday as well. So we start at 6:30, and it's from 6:30 to 7, just 30 minutes, and we're doing the book of Acts. That's from my point of view, the announcement. Any other announcements, servants? Again, guys, it would be nice to see you in the liturgy on Sunday, Yanni. We stand together in spirit. Just because we can't see each other doesn't mean we can't pray and stand together. Please make an effort to wake up, and we'll see you on for Sunday's meeting at 11:30, guys. 11:30. All right, beautiful. We need someone to pray. I'm not sure, Yani. I don't want to make you pray twice, Abuna, but we'd love for you to pray for us.
It's by default as a father. do I have a choice? Where's the one of Tom? Thank you, Lord, for this gathering and to learn more about your word and to try to experience the true faith and be enabled by your grace to develop our faith and to help dispel our doubts. I ask you, Lord, to bless this meeting and all those during the lockdown in Sydney. Find us, Lord, give us peace and hope. Find us, Lord, to give us strength to really learn and grow in your word, especially during this time. And for those who are really struggling through depressive thoughts or any emotional thoughts, guide us, Lord, to really find your true peace. I ask you, Lord, to hear us as we pray. Thank you, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thank you, Abuna.
Thank you.
Pray for us.
So they call us next time. Kelly, you take over the meeting, so you don't give me a time limit. That's a joke.
I think the combination of Abuna John and Carlos, the topic will never finish.
Yeah. That's my mistake, Abuna. I take too long as well. So literally, we can go on all night, I think, if it's just me and you.
Unless we organize a meeting, me and you.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Well,
See you guys.